Hello everyone, thank you for tuning in. Again, I am Kaylee Batesman, the content director at She Can Code, and today we are discussing navigating product development and championing diversity in tech. I've got the amazing Marilyn Scott, a seasoned senior business analyst and Proxy product owner at Expleo with me today, and she's here to share her journey and the pivotal skills and mindset shifts that are necessary for anyone looking to transition into product development. Welcome, Marilyn. Lovely to have you on Spilling the Tea.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here and very honored that, you'd like to talk to me about my career and
Very
how
much,
I've
yes.
navigated within the technology industry. Yeah.
Yes, we would love to hear all about that today. And I know our community are going to absolutely love to hear all about your journey and your advice along your career route. So, can we kick off with a bit of background about you, if that's okay?
Okay, so I'm currently a consultant working for Expleo. My job specification is around business analysis. So I'm a senior business analyst with lots and lots of experience within technology, IT, but that isn't my background. So I worked in a contact center for several years before deciding to go back to school and learn something different. And at the time, I was really passionate about business infrastructure. And so I decided to do international business. From there, I kind of navigated into IT consultancy and trained as a business analyst. And that was the kind of the beginning of my journey within tech.
Amazing. So you weren't one of those children that kind of thought computer science is for me. You actually took international business and then went into consultancy. Did you ever think, now looking back, that you would work in technology?
Absolutely not. I just kind of, after so many years of working within a contact center, working with people, um, I enjoyed working with project managers. I started to learn about the more technical side of business. And that's where I became more curious about technology. And, as the world's, technology is evolving very fast, exponentially expanding, and all of this globalization and just being able to connect and learn new things, it was just a natural thing for me.
Yeah, yeah. And that's good I love it when people say that I was working with lots of people and got to discover technology in that way as well. It is a myth that we try to bust on Spilling the Tea, that you work on your own in technology and all you do is code and work on your own in a basement and that is it. But it's always great when people say, actually, I almost discovered that I liked working with people and I liked working with teams, and that led me to work in technology, because it's not there is that stereotype around technology, isn't there?
Absolutely, yes. And I think that was my vision: a dark room, a developer, preferably male, sat
Yeah.
behind a computer doing something techy, and just seeing all of this spillage of code that just couldn't decipher, couldn't understand. And it was like, okay, that's what I want to do. I want to learn more about technology. I want to even learn how to develop a product, develop a web page. Maybe one day, my curiosity would expand to entrepreneurship, but just the whole idea of technology and what we see out there in the world, Apple, Google, Samsung, all of these, famous brands that have been so innovative. And yeah, that's just been kind of a driving force for me, with a passion for sustainability. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. And we have lots of ladies on here as well talk about how they fell into products. They didn't know that it was a role that was even available, to be honest. And so
No.
I'd love to hear a little bit about, your journey. So can you kick off with, can you tell us a bit about your journey from traditional business analysis to product development? And what were the key challenges now? How did you overcome them along the way?
Yeah, so my journey kind of from the traditional business analysis world of requirements and process modeling and kind of optimization to product development was basically focused on my kind of curiosity around agile. So I wanted to know more about agile and, you know, product development. And so with my role being very heavily focused on understanding and documenting requirements, I wanted to add a number of additional layers to that. So I started to work with development teams, so closely with solution architects, trying to have conversations with the developers and the testers and product owners to learn more about that kind of agile world. At that time, it wasn't per se known as agile. It was kind of scrum. Everything was just scrum. Let's just incorporate scrum cadence and let's have these daily stand-ups and these retrospectives and planning sessions, but agile wasn't at that time kind of the mindset. But for some reason, I was able to navigate and work on a number of projects where I was literally in reality face to face with a developer or a tester, was facilitating meetings. I was getting to know about what they do. And most recently, product development and understanding that wanting to be more involved in that product development life cycle. So
Mhm.
one of the key challenges was shifting my mindset from a purely kind of analytical, methodical perspective to a more holistic product focused approach and also that value driven approach.
Yeah.
And this involved not just understanding what the business needed, but also why it was necessary, and how it could be best implemented. So understanding how I could deliver value and transition a change into BAU, was super interesting and important to me. And I overcame this immersing kind of, I don't know, self doubt by just getting involved, understanding agile methodologies, learning to think like a product owner, and just continuously seeking opportunities to kind of bridge that gap between the business needs and the technical solutions.
Yeah. Yeah, and you mentioned this shift, because you obviously there is a shift in mindset when you move to product development, and the way you spoke about that was, you said when you first started talking to the development teams and learning different things. What was that like for you? Was that quite daunting? Did you think I have to be really technical to be able to talk to these really techie people, or were you quite relieved? Actually, you just need to be a good communicator.
A bit of both. I think I've always had this saying in the back of my mind, which is there always has to be, and try and develop an open communication climate.
Mhm.
So everyone, it's not just about hearing, it's about listening, that everyone has valuable input and insights, and no question is a silly question, and all of that good stuff. I think it was daunting to start off with because it was a shift from actually business analysts like the autonomy of sitting around their laptops and just working in a silo kind of fashion of data analysis, pulling together data, gathering intel, and doing it in a very structured and methodical way. So for me, it was okay, well, first of all, I have to be confident in what I do. So business analysis is something that it's a doddle to me. Like every project has its own challenges, but there is a service framework, you know what to apply. There's certain techniques and tools that are attached to services and sub-services. So it's, there's always a tool or a technique or someone that you can talk to gather that information. Whereas working with the technical people, the language was different. So
Mm.
even though communication is super important to me, absolutely advocate for collaboration. it was understanding some of the terminologies that they was using. And because they were expertise, they weren't graduates starting out in their career, they were people that had talents and, they were gifted, they knew what they were doing. And so I embraced that as, I can learn something new, I can enhance my knowledge, I can become more aware, I can start asking more technical questions. And that's where I then started to incorporate kind of like what courses. So, for example, I'd use Udemy, LinkedIn. I would speak to the trainers. Yes, I was constantly just trying to evolve and develop my knowledge set.
Yeah. You mentioning language there, we have some ladies at our last hackathon that came along. They were from product, and they said the same thing, that so our hackathons are not just for very technical people. We always encourage anyone to come along and just try it for the day. We have mentors to help you, but some of those ladies were from product, and they said the same thing. They said, I would like to learn today more about the language so I can go back and work with my teams much more effectively. So they came along just to hear the type of things that were spoken about during the projects that day. And they did work on some great projects as well, but you're right, it must be quite daunting to have to soak that up at first.
Yeah, I think there is a natural transition from a business analyst to a product owner. If that's, if you're thinking, how do I navigate that? I think we hold a lot of skills that are transferable. A product owner owns the product, so they have the vision for the product, they set the goals, they have the business outcomes. So they kind of sign everything off from, delivering functionalities and features, if there's any bug fixes. And so, it's kind of like you own a baby, it's yours, and you need to live and breathe that, but you also have to, it can become that is your only kind of niche. So, I think there is, with product ownership, it's good to learn the technical aspect of it, because you can always apply it to and develop your own kind of laboratory of products. The more you understand the technical side of things, from my perspective, the more products that you can own. And I think I would want to have a diversity of products to own and to further develop. I think that's just where I see myself
Yeah.
heading in that direction. So the technical aspect, I mean, if you've got third party developing a product, and you have internal testers, I mean, it's very important to be able to support that whole communication piece between an external and the internal teams, that sometimes they work in different ways. The internal team may use Scrum, they may use, I don't know, Crystal, whatever, ways of working they have may be different. And how do you kind of align those? How do you ensure that everyone's on the same frequency? And also supporting the testers or the developers, where they may have even knowledge gaps with the technical aspect, to give them recommendations, or, even to relay that back to a scrum master, or to have those conversations with the agile coach or whoever's supporting in terms of the development of knowledge around that particular product. So it's all exciting.
Yeah, and that's the good thing about technology, isn't it? It's all exciting and it's all moving all the time, which is something that is just great about working in the tech industry. I think a lot of us that work in tech, though, wish that some people had told us some things before we got started. So I'd love to
Oh,
pick
yeah.
your brains on that. But for someone starting out, what advice would you give them on, learning coding and data analysis? Any resources you'd recommend? You mentioned Udemy previously. A lot of
Yeah.
the community love that. Is there anything else, or is that the best place to get started?
So there's many platforms that you can use. For me, I would recommend finding a mentor.
Mhm.
So I have a mentor who is he's like a genius. He knows a lot. It doesn't have to be a male or female. I'm not telling you to go out and find a male genius, but you do need someone that can help to guide you and shape you and carve out some of that training that you can literally apply in reality. So I think finding a mentor is super important, but clearly understanding fundamentals. So understanding the fundamentals of coding, whether that's SQL or Python, you know, start off with some dummy courses, some crash courses, data analysis. These fields are very vast, so it's important to focus on the basics before diving into more complex topics. So Python, which is both beginner friendly and widely used in data analysis and product development. I would recommend that. AI and Python together,
Yeah.
SQL, using tools like SQL, Excel, Tableau, Power BI. Like, try and just find something that works for you that will help you not just hear but listen and soaking that information.
Yeah.
There's lots of books out there. So there's Foster Provost and Tom Fawcett. Um, you could join online communities. If you think about LinkedIn, there's hundreds, maybe thousands. Stack Overflow, GitHub is one that I would recommend I've used, and they can provide the practical experience and support. There are other like games and tools that you can use, but like I said, a mentor to help guide you because technology is it's so vast, and even for me, most recently, I've learned how to read code. I'm still trying to do that. I've got a course on DevOps, which is to learn all of the fundamentals around that particular um, expertise. Data and analytics fundamentals, data science for business. There's just so much out there. And I think, yeah, starting with the fundamentals, starting with the beginner courses, yeah, that's really important. Sorry,
Yeah.
I kind of
That's
walked there. My apologies.
okay. No, it was brilliant. There was lots of advice in there, so don't worry. Um, in our community, a lot of the questions that seem to be pitched are, do I have to spend a lot of money on courses and resources and a lot of time and effort, sometimes just to find out that it's not for you anyway? Did you do that, or did you start with free things and then kind of figured out what you wanted and then perhaps made an investment then?
So, because I work for IT and a technology and engineering consultancy such as Expleo, I have access to Udemy courses.
Amazing.
I have also invested in LinkedIn,
Mhm.
and I think LinkedIn is good because you're focused on professional development. And also, you can reach out and you can network, and people can provide you with recommendations. You can look at people's profiles and you can see what certifications they've done, see if it's something that is relevant to you. I think spending money on books and courses, don't do it unless it's something that you really believe will add value
Yeah.
to your knowledge base and that will help to enhance your career. So really think about, if you're going to spend £1,000 on a course, do I need it? Is
Yeah.
it going to add any value? Is it going to help me secure this particular type of project, or secure this particular job that will, increase your salary? I would say start small. Yes, start small, invest, 20, 30, £40 into a learning platform, look at the star ratings, look at the number of people who have taken that course, and invest some time. Um, but yes, definitely, I think continuous learning, it's been a cornerstone in my career growth,
Mhm.
certainly. I remember the first time I started, well, I've been with Expleo for over 3 years now. The first year I did about 120 courses.
Oh,
Not telling
wow.
anyone to go out there and do 120 courses, but this was a blog, a recommended blog, or, a 5-minute training or an hour training, but they were all recommended training courses or, e-learnings, and they had enhanced my knowledge, and I wouldn't be here today without that whole journey.
Yeah.
Um, and I think, always invest time. So sometimes I even think to myself, well, how many books have I read this year? And what is it that I really. So sometimes we can think that one course, it sounds amazing, but is it realistic? Is it something that you need in the here and the now? Will it help to add that additional value? Will it open up, unlock some of that, cover some of the grey areas that you have in your current role? So I think, it's really important to make sure that you're staying current in terms of technology, which is always evolving
Mhm.
um, rapidly. So I just approach it by setting aside time each week to
Mhm.
explore new tools and technologies and methodologies. I'm very kind of creative in the sense that I've got an innovative mindset where I don't have to do the standard things. I can be creative. I can test things. There's this saying about failing fast. Failing fast gives you the opportunity to also learn fast
Yeah.
and apply your new learnings to future projects. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Even just attending webinars and reading industry blogs, this is all part of your learning journey.
Yeah.
And you can tick that off as a course or as something that you've invested in to develop your knowledge.
Yeah, and it sounds like as well your approach to that is something that is very much supported by your employer, because it sounds like they encourage you to do that, that they offer you the courses, they give you the time as well, because there are lots of employers that don't really set aside time for your development as well. That's,
Absolutely. Um, that's the amazing benefit of working for Expleo,
mm,
because you do have the opportunity. You get allocated a number of days per year. You get the opportunity to look at a vast array of courses. Obviously, there are some guidelines around what you may deem to be appropriate. So if I'm a business analyst and I'm trying to take a program manager course, then it would be, well, what value is that going to add to your career? And it's about applying your learnings.
yeah,
So, I mean, that's just been my journey, but there isn't. If you can find a consultancy or an organization that will invest in your learning, which was a key requirement of mine, then that is absolutely brilliant, and it's to your advantage because courses can be expensive.
mm,
But look, there's so much free resources. I mean, YouTube is amazing.
yeah,
Even for revision, exam techniques, you can find a lot of free resources. It's out there. Just look at the feedback that people have provided on that particular course. Was it good? Did it provide the clarity? Did it close some of the knowledge gaps? Did it help to help you out of a tricky situation? You know, um, Also leveraging AI, for example, ChatGPT. You can use ChatGPT to find free resources, to find even academic journal articles.
mm,
They're worth reading,
yeah,
because even just reading the abstract, the introduction, and the conclusion will give you a lot of information, new knowledge. And
yeah.
that's what, yeah, there's a lot out there.
Yeah, that's a really good tip, at least asking where to find some good resources to narrow down, because you are right, there are lots available out there. You're obviously finding your way, and you found yourself in a good employer that is helping you along the way with your learning development. But I wanted to ask you a little bit about your challenges along the way as well. So, as a woman from an ethnic background in a predominantly male industry, what challenges have you faced, and how have you overcome them?
So, being a woman of ethnicity, and in a predominantly male industry, sometimes I don't try to look at it from an from a, I wouldn't say pessimistic or negative, um because I am ethnic, and sometimes I do feel that potentially that's a reason why I don't last on a project too long, or they kind of move me around um to different projects, or they kind of take me off a project and replace me with someone else, and it's all okay because it's just the business requirement. So I don't know if it's because of my ethnic background. I do feel that discrimination comes in all different forms, and I would be doing myself an injustice to be always focused on that. It definitely is a predominantly male industry, and I have recently spoken to my mentor who attended a conference and said that women in IT, the percentage is actually decreasing, even though we're really trying to advocate for more women in IT. It's something that will take time, and for me, I need to have patience. And I know that's one of my areas of weakness. Like sometimes I want to maybe sometimes present a solution too quickly, or I think I can turn something around in a lot less time than in reality it would take. Um, I think with male and female, there's always instances of unconscious bias, and the constant need to prove my capabilities. And that's one thing I've just naturally kind of become numb to. Like I have to prove myself more. I have to invest more in education and learning. And it's what I call de-risking.
Yeah,
The more competent you are, the more certifications they can never take that away from you. So in a way, it's de-risking, and that's where I've kind of found my strength. That I'll take it as a unique perspective and experience, which will allow me to deliver or bring a different viewpoint to the table.
yeah,
Um, Sometimes it can be stressful, and sometimes you can feel anxious. And I think it's very important to be open, honest, and transparent, but also think about how things are impacting you personally, because self care, self well being is really important. And there is still a lot of barriers. So I've had a comment recently where they don't want to hear women's problems. Well, I had to take my child to childcare or to school, and well, they don't want to hear that. So my instant reaction was, well, I think it's about time that the husbands and the fathers start taking the kids to school too,
yeah.
and
And hear that.
helping the women, the mothers, the super women that are, taking care of the kids and juggling a job at the same time as well as studying. It is it's a hard compromise. It really is. So I think we're all striving for equality and diversity, but we want it to be more of an action, and that will only happen in time. So I think for me and for anyone, the advice that I would give is to overcome some of the challenges of discrimination and inequalities, and the this you know the fact that you know we do sometimes feel inferior, as women in IT, is just to build strong networks of support, whether that's within or outside the organization. Like I said, mentorship, that has played a critical role in my journey. And I've had both male and female mentors. And it could be that they're just with you for a moment, but they've added some value. They've helped you to break down some of the barriers or climb a mountain. And even though it feels uncomfortable, if you reflect, you'll see that you are making progress, because sometimes it is just within the mind. It's you are winning, but you just can't see that. Um, so mentorship that provides you the guidance and encouragement, when faced with obstacles, but also being proactive, advocate for yourself and for others. So I feel like I would want people to treat me in a certain way, and I would want to see certain opportunities. I am someone else's biggest cheerleader, because I would want to be treated in a certain way. I would want somebody else to be treated equally. So, always cheerleading for others, supporting others, ensuring diverse voices are heard and valued. That's really important to me.
Yeah, because I wanted to ask you about that, how underrepresented groups and women, they can be better supported in their career journeys in tech. And you're so right in some of those things. Some of the main things there are just mentor and almost finding not just your own cheerleaders, but be remembering to be cheerleaders for other people as
Absolutely.
well. We've noticed from some of the companies that we work with that some of them are so invested in not just paying lip service to something. They really do look into their workforce, why people are leaving, why people want to stay at some companies and not others. And things like the training that you get at Expleo and things like that, things that they are learning and development is obviously very important to you, and that's going to keep you within your company. But there are lots of companies out there that are almost wondering what they're getting wrong, and perhaps are just not really looking internally enough at changes that
Yeah,
need to be made.
absolutely. For me, and this might be my own kind of feelings about organizations, they are artificial. They don't have feelings. If you kick a company, an organization, it will not feel pain. It's
Yeah.
people that make decisions. So I think sustainability, even though you've got your customers at the heart of everything you do, and your data informs how you can better shape and improve processes and everything else and better support your customers. But sustainability is everything. It's at the forefront. We're talking about the triple bottom line. So looking after the people, looking after your profits, but also looking after the planet. So it's when we think about sustainability, it's such a huge topic, right? So you've got ESG, which is your environmental, social, and governance factors. And I guess under social, that's where your people will sit. So, for example, the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive has expanded the number of organizations that need to report on their sustainability metrics. So things like attrition, diversity, all of this good stuff needs to be reported, which means that they also need to evidence and showcase exactly what they've been doing within the organization. And I know Expleo are doing a lot in terms of creating an employee forum, creating representatives across the various locations. So there's lots that organizations can be doing and should be doing and must do to ensure the safety of their people, and also to enhance their practices and their processes. And it's not just about profitability. There's everything else. Corporations, have such vast amounts of capital that we could eradicate poverty. They could do a whole lot more. And I think it's not just about the external environment, it's also about the internal environment. So people organizations need to invest in people a whole lot more.
Definitely, yes. I think that's a whole other podcast in itself. I definitely agree with you on that. Um, I would love to keep picking your brains on this subject, but we are almost out of time. And I wanted to ask you one last question about your future. You mentioned a passion for transitioning careers into product development and delivery. Can you tell us more about your vision for your future career, including your aspiration to own a laboratory of products?
It's crazy, right? Will it ever happen? Will it ever happen? That's the million-dollar question. But I guess that's just kind of a vision for the future. Um, Creating a laboratory of products where innovation and experimentation are at the forefront. So I love, I would love to develop my own products, or actually um, have multiple products that I expertise in. So, if, for example, in 5, 10 years time, I was still working for Expleo, for example, I'd be that go-to person for those particular products. So I think innovation, experimentation, entrepreneurship is something that is kind of at the forefront of, where I'd like to maybe end my career. So, having a space where I can, lead on ideas, and, they can be developed rapidly into prototypes. They can be tested and refined, and just being able to be part of that continuous development of products, and to solve like real world problems. So I love collaboration, and this laboratory would be collaborative environment. So it would bring together diverse teams with expertise in various different areas, whether that's coding, data analysis, user experience, product management. And I love the idea of fostering creativity while maintaining a strong focus on delivering value to customers. And I believe that combining agile methodologies with a culture of experimentation, that we can create products that will resonate with users and drive meaningful impact.
Amazing. That is a lovely goal to set yourself, and how lovely as well that tech is that creative, and that you can be that creative in your role, and you can think, you know what, I would love to get to that point in my career where I'm doing that, where we have an even more creative environment, but that's not a pipe dream. That is actually something that you can move towards within
Absolutely.
your career, because that's just the beauty of being in tech and how flexible we can be in our careers in tech.
And I think it also it's the fact that you can be flexible, you can be adaptable, as well as navigating through a dynamic environment landscape such as tech. I just think the world is your oyster, women. You can achieve anything that you put your mind to, and never let anyone tell you otherwise. There are so much resources out there, and if you can just find the time to really sit down and put together a plan, start journaling, start, just writing about your thoughts and your intentions, and, your what you want to achieve, and find a mentor, and share those visions with someone. So I think a lot of the time it's in the mind. We want to achieve so many things, but it's about bringing that to life, isn't it? It's about talking about it, illuminating it, and just seeing actually how far can I push myself in this space? And it may be thousands of miles, it may be, a leap, it may be 2 steps backwards and 3 steps forwards, but you will learn something, and that will help to continue to carve out your career and you as a person. So, yeah.
Amazing. That is lovely advice to end it on today. A really lovely positive note for everybody listening, because we are already out of time, I'm afraid. So, Marilyn, thank you so much for coming on here and having a chat. It's been an absolute pleasure hearing all about your journey. So thank you for taking time out of your super busy day.
My pleasure, anytime. And thank you again for the opportunity.
Thank you. For everybody listening, as always, thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you again next time.